She was mopping the emergency room floor at 2 in the morning when the laughter started. Quiet at first, like a ripple on still water, then louder, sharper mocking. The three orderlies huddled near the nurse's station, sneaking glances her way, the fluorescent lights bouncing off the mop bucket, the sterile linoleum floor, the blood stains smeared beneath her feet. She didn't look up. She couldn't afford to. She was just doing her job, quietly pushing the mop back and forth, her long dark hair pulled tight into a practical ponytail. A simple gray sweatshirt stretched over toned arms that didn't show their scars. Her wheelchair sat just out of reach, waiting for the next trip across the length of the hospital corridor. They laughed at the tattoo peeking out from beneath her collar, a symbol they didn't understand. To them, it was just a strange design, a swirl of black lines with a dagger piercing a winged skull. Some of them made jokes, crude and loud, guessing it was a biker gang emblem, maybe a bad tattoo from a night out. What kind of cleaners got tats like that? One of them called out, voice dripping with disdain. She said nothing. They had no idea that butterfly-winged skull was the emblem of Delta Force, a mark only a few earned in clandestine missions few would ever know about. They had no clue the woman with the mop was Master Sergeant Maya Ember 2 Lawson, 28 years old, a decorated veteran who had spent 5 years in the most dangerous covert operations in the Middle East, saving lives they never acknowledged. What happened next would change everything. Even the hospital's chief of surgery, a general retired from active duty himself, would freeze the moment he recognized that tattoo on her neck, because until then, not a single soul understood who this janitor really was. Maya wiped the sweat from her brow, her eyes flicking briefly toward a cluster of nurses nearby, their heads subtly turning toward the mocking voices. She felt their discomfort but carried herself with a calm that could only come from surviving worse. Her legs were paralyzed from a roadside explosion 2 years ago in Kandahar, hidden beneath plain black slacks and sneakers, but she refused to let her disability define her. Despite the wheelchair locked to her side, she moved with a purposeful grace that commanded no attention but somehow demanded respect. Every night for the past 3 years, this hospital had been her battlefield. Not the sandy dust storms of Afghanistan, but the unnoticed grime between sterile tiles, the endless smears of blood and sweat, the quiet resilience of someone who had traded in her rifle for a mop, but refused to surrender her dignity. Behind that tattoo was a story of incredible sacrifice. Maya was one of the few women to serve in Delta Force's elite unit, call sign Ember 2, known for infiltration and evacuation behind enemy lines. 5 years ago, during a high-risk operation near the Tora Bora Mountains, she had risked everything to get 23 soldiers out alive, sliding past enemy fire with nothing but a silenced pistol and sheer will. That story wasn't told here, not in the hallways of this hospital where she was just another face in scrubs and steel-toe boots. The 3 men who mocked her had no idea what kind of storm they were stirring, not until one of them, a brash young orderly named Carter, decided to get closer, stepping up behind her to nudge the mop bucket forcefully toward her feet. "Watch it, janitor. Don't trip on your own mess," he sneered, the words sharp like a blade but met with nothing but silence. She didn't flinch, didn't speak, didn't move. Her steady hands continued their work, as if the hours they spent here, mopping the aftermath of broken bodies, hardened her more than their ignorance ever could. But then, Carter leaned in too close, his breath hot against her neck as he lowered her collar slightly by the back of her shirt, exposing the tattoo fully. His laughter was loud, cruel, and echoed through the empty emergency room. "Look at this, Delta Force. Bet you couldn't even hold a gun now, cripple." The words stung like fire, but she straightened immediately, wheels locked, eyes burning with the quiet fury of someone who had earned every inch of her scars. That's when the door swung open and the room went still. A general in full uniform, sharp and imposing, stepped into the ER, alerted by the commotion. His boots clicked like thunder against the tiles, his eyes scanning the scene before landing on Maya. He froze, the moment stretched like eternity as he recognized that ink as a symbol of elite valor and sacrifice. His face went pale, hands tightening at his sides. "Who is this?" he demanded, voice low but commanding the entire room. The 3 men fell silent, caught in the gravity of what they'd just disturbed. It was the youngest nurse, a freshly minted army medic recently deployed overseas, who stepped forward, nodding toward the tattoo. Sir, that's the insignia of Delta Force. Master Sergeant Maya Lawson. She's one of us. The general's gaze didn't waver. In all my years, I never imagined seeing a warrior like her hiding in plain sight as janitorial staff. Then another sound. A fleet of black SUVs pulling up outside the hospital. Within minutes, 8 men stepped into the ER, their movements silent but deadly, the unmistakable silhouettes of Navy SEALs in tactical gear. The lead SEAL removed his cap and saluted Maya with the reverence reserved only for heroes, breaking every protocol in the book. She returned the salute with a steady hand, unmistakable in its sincerity. Suddenly, the entire dynamic shifted. The very men who mocked the mop and the disability now backed away, each glance filled with awe and a stark realization of their own ignorance. Maya was not just a janitor. She was Master Sergeant Ember 2, a soldier who had volunteered to jump on a grenade 5 years ago to save her team in a firefight so fierce it still echoed in classified reports. The operation saved lives but left her wheelchair bound, a price she paid without complaint. This hospital floor was her new front line. The general's voice cut through the charged silence. You will apologize to Master Sergeant Lawson. This place is under my protection now. The shame on those faces was immediate. Mockery dissolved into whispered apologies and stammered respect. They had mocked a ghost, a hero who had never sought recognition. She had let them think she was just a janitor, forgetting the rules about humility and invisibility in civilian life. But now, things had changed. The hospital had to change too. Maya's story, etched in ink and sacrifice, had been revealed, and justice was just beginning. The general's gaze hardened as he took a step closer to Maya, the flickering fluorescent lights casting long shadows down the sterile corridor. His voice cut through the growing silence like a blade. You will apologize to Master Sergeant Lawson now. Carter, the loudest of the orderlies, swallowed hard, his face flushing an intense shade of red, guilt, and shame crashing over his features like a tidal wave. The others shifted awkwardly, their bravado evaporating under the weight of true authority. Maya's hands remained steady on the mop handle, though her jaw clenched with long-standing restraint. She never sought this spotlight, but justice was overdue. The general nodded toward the nurses, who had been watching silently, their loyalty silently shifting. Ensure no one disturbs her in this space again. We owe her respect, not ridicule. Before anyone could respond, the subtle but unmistakable sound of engines disrupted the tense moment, the low rumble growing rapidly louder outside. 8 black SUVs rolled up to the hospital's entrance, their dark windows reflecting the flashing red and blue lights. Within seconds, a team of 8 men strode through the automatic doors, their tactical gear immaculate amid the sterile environment. They moved with precision and confidence, Navy SEALs, silent but undeniably commanding. Their leader stepped forward, removing his cap in a gesture that rippled through the room like a shockwave. Master Sergeant Lawson, he said, voice low but laden with respect. It's an honor. Maya looked up, meeting his eyes with a salute so steady that it left no question about the unspoken bond between warriors. The room's atmosphere shifted palpably. The very men who had sneered moments before now shuffled backwards, the weight of their ignorance crushing them. This was no janitor. This was Maya Ember 2 Lawson, a soldier who carried the scars of sacrifice beneath her calm exterior. The general motioned toward the SEALs and spoke firmly. You will accompany Master Sergeant Lawson out of here. She deserves more than words. She deserves recognition. As the SEALs formed a protective perimeter around her wheelchair, a young nurse approached, clutching a clipboard but trembling. Sir, she whispered, she saved 23 soldiers 5 years ago in eastern Afghanistan during Operation Silent Viper. She led a covert extraction under heavy enemy fire, moving 300 yards under sniper coverage to drag wounded comrades back to safety. The general's face softened with visible admiration. That operation was classified. Few knew her role, fewer acknowledged it. Her injuries were severe, roadside IED wheelchair-bound since, but she never yielded. The story was no longer secret. It was time for truth to illuminate the shadows. One by one, whispered conversations spread down the hospital halls. Staff who had been indifferent, dismissive, even cruel, now gathered with wide, reverent eyes. The general raised his voice, authoritative yet compassionate. Maya Lawson is more than a janitor. She is one of the finest warriors this country has produced. She saved lives in ways we cannot repay, and now she stands for all veterans who suffer. In silence, Carter, the very man who had mocked her tattoo, stepped forward, shaking visibly. His voice cracked as he managed, "Master Sergeant Lawson, I'm sorry. I didn't know." Maya looked at him, the years of pain and resilience etched deep, then nodded once, dignified and complete. The general continued, "Let this be a lesson. Mockery will no longer be tolerated. From this moment, this hospital is safe for every soldier, veteran and civilian who walks its corridors." The hospital director, present and silent until now, cleared his throat. Effective immediately, Master Sergeant Lawson's role will be redefined. She will lead a new veterans outreach and support program. Her experience is invaluable. Maya's eyes shimmered. Recognition not only for her service but for her voice, her presence, her worth. She had fought battles in distant deserts and now in these quiet, sterile halls. This was a small victory, but a meaningful one. Outside, the SEAL team formed a protective escort as she was wheeled toward the hospital's staff lounge. Normally a realm of anonymity, now a space of honor. The lead SEAL whispered, "Ember 2, it's good to see you. Your team never forgot." "Good to see you all too," Maya replied, her voice steady with the power of kinship. As they moved through the hospital, staff stood, some murmuring thanks, others saluting in respect. The butterfly-winged skull tattoo that had once been a source of mockery now radiated pride and history. In that moment, Maya was visible in her entirety. The fierce soldier, the wounded veteran, and the woman who refused to be erased by circumstance or disdain. Weeks later, the hospital's newsletter featured her story. Master Sergeant Maya Lawson, from frontline fighter to frontline fighter for veterans' rights. The cruel jokes had transformed into testimonials praising her courage. The general personally endorsed her initiatives, ensuring a legacy that went beyond the hospital's walls. Maya continued her nightly rounds, not with her mop as a symbol of submission, but as a reminder of perseverance and healing. Her wheelchair was no longer seen as a limitation, but a testament to endurance. She trained new staff on respect, inclusion, and the unseen battles carried by many around them. Years from now, those 3 orderlies would remember the night they faced a general, 8 Navy SEALs, and a spirit unbreakable. They had mocked a ghost, a phantom of pain and valor, but she had let them see the sunlight of truth instead. And that changed everything. In the end, it wasn't just about a tattoo or a wheelchair. It was about recognizing the stories carried silently beneath the surface, about honoring sacrifice without spectacle but with unyielding respect. Maya had reclaimed her space, not just in this hospital but in the hearts of all who witnessed her quiet, relentless fight. She was no longer just the janitor mopping floors. She was a living legend, the guardian of dignity and the embodiment of justice served at last.